Am I the asshole for ruining my daughter's life? So I 44 have a daughter who just turned 17. I own a caravan, which is left on a plot of land on a holiday park. I have owned it for around 5 years, and we visit multiple times a year. Last year when she was 15, she didn't want to come down and go to the holiday park with the family, and I trusted her as a 15-year-old to be okay by herself for the weekend. Well, she was caught throwing a party at which the TV was smashed, and the surrounding sound was broken due to someone spilling wine on it, and the carpet was the end of that. Now whenever we come down to the caravan, she has to come with us. At first she hated it, and it was a huge ordeal to get her to come along, with a lot of sulky teenage girl behavior. Over time she warmed up to it though, and she seemed to really enjoy coming, even looking forward to it. Last weekend, while we were down, we were in a sports bar that we frequent at the resort, when a girl who works in the bar asked my daughter if she would be going to MS, that's his initial, house this weekend. My daughter looked horrified when she said this, and she just said, "I don't know." She had just been outed. Well, when we get home, I ask who the hell the guy is and when exactly she has been seeing him. Turns out that for the last 10 months, she has been sneaking out the caravan when everyone else is in bed, and seeing a guy who lives down there. Needless to say, she was in deep trouble. The next day, we are in the sports bar again, and I go up to order a drink and notice the name tag of a guy who's serving me my pint. I strike up a conversation with him, and we make small talk. I ask him how old he is. He says, 24. I'm not yet certain if it's the same person, or just a coincidence, and don't want to jump to conclusions, so I quickly finish my drink and take everyone back to the caravan for a family meeting. When we got in, I confiscated my daughter's phone, and this was in fact the guy she had been seeing. I go through their messages, and my worst fears are confirmed. They have been in a sexual relationship for months, beginning when she was 16. But what makes this story worse is my daughter has lied about her age. I see through their messages she has told the guy she is 20. I lose it at her and tell her how awful what she is doing is, etc. My wife is strangely quiet, and I ask why she isn't saying anything. She admits that she knew my daughter had a crush on him and had been encouraging her crush by pointing out the guy checking her out, and she even knew they had been texting. However, my daughter lied to my wife and told her he was 18. My wife claims that they had only spoken about the guy since this summer, when my daughter was 17. She also says she had no idea my daughter had been meeting the guy in secret, but this part I am currently unsure if I believe. Using her phone, I rang the guy and explained the truth of the situation. To say he was horrified is an understatement. He apologized to me maybe 100 keks and blocked my daughter. My daughter has lost her phone privileges, as I pay for it. And if she wants a new one, she will be getting it herself. I am also going to sell the caravan. She has so far refused to speak to me other than to say I ruined her life over and over. I say this all starts and ends with her being untrustworthy. She lied to me and my wife by throwing a party. Then she lied to the guy about her age. Then she again lied to my wife about the guy's age. Then she again lied to both of us by sneaking out every weekend. I told her I am ashamed and disgusted by her behavior, as I didn't intend to raise a liar, and that she has pulled in and likely traumatized some innocent young man and could have even ruined his life by her own selfish lies. My wife thinks I'm being too hard on her and that she's a teenage girl doing teenage girl things, and is worried about this permanently damaging my relationship with her. I think no way. I am horrified by her behavior. This is too much. Am I the asshole? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Just to clear a few things up, as a lot of people are making repeat comments. The punishment for forcing her along was only until the end of the summer last year, as we would be down there a lot then. At the end of the summer last year is when she developed the crush on the bartender and decided to keep coming to oogle at him. We went down there again for the Christmas break, and she asked for his number, and that's when their relationship began. I did allow her to drink wine with our dinners a few times during the Christmas break, so I wonder if that contributed to her image of being 20. My wife did not know his age. My wife noticed the two of them looking at each other and exchanging smiles a lot this summer, which is when she questioned my daughter about him. My daughter then confided in my wife that they had been texting this summer and told her he was 18. My wife encouraged the relationship and said she was happy. My daughter had met a handsome young man and was getting to experience a holiday romance. My wife also noticed a huge attitude improvement since they had been talking, so she thought it was a good thing. My wife has been devastated upon finding out she had been encouraging the relationship. Now she knows the truth of the matter. I am sure the guy did not know her age. Trust me, things would have gone very differently if not. You are all free to make your assumptions all you want, but you forget I know my daughter and what she looks like, as well as reading their conversations. My daughter is 5'8", which is tall for her age and women in general. She has a passion for makeup and does hair and beauty at college. It is not a stretch to believe she is 3 years older, especially when you add the lies I myself read her send to him. Lying about being in university, lying about losing her ID when being invited to a club, lying about living alone at university, etc., etc., etc. The fact my daughter was begging me while crying not to tell him her real age is a dead giveaway. We are not American. We are from the UK. No statutory rape occurred. The guy isn't and wouldn't be in any legal trouble if this came out. But it would likely ruin his life, regardless. A 24-year-old sleeping with a 16, 17-year-old is hugely not okay over here. It is generally understood that the low AOC here is so that teenagers can sleep with other teenagers. And even then, a 19 and a 16-year-old would still be frowned upon. A 24-year-old would be seen as a predator and ostracized for this. Please do not slut-shame my daughter. It is perfectly acceptable for a girl her age to have crushes, date, and have sex, just with people her own age. Please do not make the mistake of thinking for a second, you know the situation better than me, or have my daughter's best interest at heart more than me. Thank you. Relevant comments. How would he, the guy, not know if she said she was sneaking out to see him? They very much were having sex and drinking together. Like I said in my post, this is likely very traumatizing for him. An amp. From what I understand, she used to meet him at the bar after he finished work, which was usually around 1 or 2 a.m. He had no reason to suspect anything. More on age of consent. AOC here is 16, so he didn't do anything illegal. But it would still be life-ruining if it got out, as people would look at him with utter disgust. Despite low AOC, it is still socially enforced that the age gap is unacceptable. It is generally understood that the low AOC is for teenagers to be able to sleep with each other, and even then, a 19-year-old with a 16-year-old would be looked at very warily. You need to meet him and tell him, I did speak to him over the phone, and he was mortified and told me to tell her to not to try and contact him again, and that he would be blocking her number. I said, don't worry. She won't even have a phone to contact him on. She has been on BC since she was 16, thankfully. One more thought from OP. The thing is, I thought we were rebuilding our relationship after the party with these trips. There were weeks she near enough begged me to go. She was spending so much time with the family, and actually engaged. She seemed happy, bubbly, like the girl I thought I raised. She was practically glowing. Makes me feel sick to know the real reason now. I don't even know what to say at this point. Update post, 13 hours later. So, I have today taken on a lot of feedback and decided to go back and talk to my wife. During the conversation, my wife admitted that there were times she knew my daughter was going out and meeting him, and that she had made her download Life 360 to do so. She claims that she picked up on it toward the end of this summer, after catching my daughter trying to leave the caravel in the deed of night. I told her no wonder where our daughter gets her habit of lying from. Because of this revelation, I have decided I will be giving my daughter back her phone. It is not fair to punish her for something she was actually given permission to do. Me and my wife had a big fallout, as I said that if she is going to go behind my back and make decisions unilaterally, she at least owes it to my daughter and myself to do the due diligence to make sure that everything is above board and safe. My wife has been very apologetic, but despite her pleading with me not to go, I have gone to stay in a hotel for a few days as I cannot even look at her right now. My wife claims that the reason she didn't inform me is that my daughter begged her not to, as she was embarrassed about the idea of me knowing she is having sex. I'm not an idiot. I assumed my daughter had probably had sex, or at least experimented. Hell, I was the one who suggested to my wife we look into BC for her at 16. I don't care what she does as long as she's safe and responsible. I spoke to my daughter and told her that even though I'm disappointed in her, I love her. She tells me she was in love. I say love is meaningless if it's built on a lie, which is why I'm leaving for a few days. She seemed to understand this, at least I hope. We hugged, she cried some, and then I left. I don't know if I will update this again. I don't know if there is much else to say. I'm just going to relax and play some pool, I think. I don't have work until Monday, so I will probably return sometime Sunday. I feel like this whole thing is going to give me an aneurysm. Relevant comments. The funny thing is, if they had been honest, a lot of this wouldn't have happened. Literally. Had they been honest, I'd have been fine with her going out to meet a guy, had he been age appropriate. And like I said, we frequent the bar, and the bartender has always been polite and friendly to me. Had my wife bothered to tell me, I'd have spoken to him sooner just to introduce myself properly and probably even invite him round, which would have inevitably lead to the truth coming out a lot sooner, and a lot of the mess would have been mitigated. Therapy. I think some form of therapy is a must at this point. Certainly marriage counseling at the least. This seriously wasn't okay, and was handled not only shadily, but beyond irresponsibly, by someone I thought I could trust my life with. You were fooled by your daughter last year, and didn't punish yourself, so why should you punish your wife? She obviously didn't know his age. The thing is, me and my wife coming together to have a discussion, and agreeing to trust our daughter's word together, whilst putting steps in place to ensure her safety, is what happened in the party situation. Daughter had to call us every night at 10 p.m., and we had neighbors there to keep an eye on her. She was allowed 3 predetermined friends round at any time she wanted. This was all agreed, and as said, precautions were taken, beyond just trusting her word. She couldn't keep her word then. This year this isn't what happened. My wife unilaterally made a decision, without doing any due diligence, or setting any boundaries besides making her download an app. She allowed our daughter to leave the house in the dead of night, to meet a guy she never even bothered to talk to, despite meeting him multiple times, and then would just go to sleep. And it was an awful, unsafe decision which put both my daughter and a young man at risk. And it isn't about demanding proof. All she had to do was talk to the guy a single time, which is not an unreasonable expectation if you as a parent are going to let your freshly 17-year-old daughter run around with him in the dead of night. As say the guy didn't know anything was wrong, it's not like he was hiding anything. The fact that it took me one single or 2-minute conversation to uncover the truth shows how little thought and effort my wife put into ensuring our daughter's safety. If you cannot see the difference here, I don't know what more to say to you. Though I do agree with your last paragraph. I don't think for a second my wife knew his real age. She made an awful decision, but she is not an awful person. She just did something stupid, which we've all done before. But when your stupidity includes lying to your partner of 20 years and putting your child in danger, it isn't as simple as cut her some slack. Relevant comments from Am I Wrong? Did mom express remorse? Truthfully, as soon as my daughter's lies came out, she seemed extremely remorseful. She was crying herself to sleep, saying she failed as a mother, and I spent most of the week reassuring her she hadn't. Now I see the real reason she took it so hard, which makes it sting even more. She thought she was enabling a cute teenage holiday romance, but actually she was letting my daughter run around with some clueless man in his mid-20s. Some space from her for the meantime, followed by some form of marriage counseling, feels like the only way forward for me. About giving the phone back punishment. The confiscating her phone was more punishment for sneaking out than anything else. And it was only a practical move, as if she cannot contact people to meet her, she has no reason to sneak out. The lying is something that will likely be better off being addressed through therapy than punishment, which, if I'm being honest, she probably needs to get to the bottom of what is causing her to act this way. Lessons learned are more important than punishments, emo. It blew up in her face. She caused a huge rift between her parents, who have always been very close, and got her heart broken. I'm not sure what good a punishment on top would do. She was already punished for the party, and the phone confiscation was to stop her sneaking out. But seeing as she wasn't actually sneaking, it is pointless. Marked as inconclusive because OP's account has been suspended. Again, if you have seen this post before, it was not on this sub. Please don't spam me telling me you've seen this before. Comment. You ever just read a story and think to yourself, wow, my parents would have killed me if I did this as a teenager? We have come to the end of our story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Tell us what you think about this story in the comments.